Hi there, welcome to the latest update in the Kenny Veach M-Cave mystery. This is in regard to the M-Cave Mineshaft fill-in and an update in regard to Susan Veach and when it was reported in. And there is a bit of a shocking twist to it, and it can further reinforce and highlight the possibilities of some kind of cover-up. Welcome if you are currently here. This will be somewhat of a shorter video, but the order of it will be sharing with you what Driven X Adventures has had to say from his knowledge. I'm doing this video now because originally he was supposed to be doing some follow-up where he was going to show screenshots, photos of the report made in the comments by Susan. That hasn't come about yet, but a date has been referred to, so I'm going to be sharing that with you. If you do want to catch up on previous videos and the context and visually as to the mineshaft being well and truly filled in, you'll be able to find that along with a whole host of videos on the case located top right corner where the eye symbol is up there. Be sure to check it out when you've got time, and also feel free to leave your comments down below under the video as to what you think about the situation. Are you suspicious of Susan Veach or not? Is she for or against the Kenny Veach case and trying to uncover the truth? Without further ado, let me show you the latest information. First of all, just for the context, originally live at Kenny Veach Mineshaft a few days ago now. It was in regard to the anniversary of Kenny Veach, I think 11 years on since the disappearance. Driven X Adventures, you want to check the channel out, feel free to do so. He does have another video scheduled in 5 or 6 days time in regard to the mineshaft, possibly a follow-up. This is what it looks like now as of present, 2025, November 10th, completely filled in. But 1 month before that, October, it wasn't filled in. So in a short space of time, action was taken. But ultimately, when was it reported in? I was assuming or guessing maybe in recent time, but it conflicted with when Robin originally did his video to do with the pen drive, the whole motive behind Susan reaching out to the DNWR, because Robin was claiming to have put a pen drive into the mineshaft, and that could encourage people to go out there under unsafe circumstances and get injured, if not worse. And Robin partially would be responsible for all of that hype. But Robin's video was done back in 2024. However, it makes more sense now. Driven X Adventures did do a response to one of my videos recently. I think it was one of my live streams where I was talking about Driven was supposed to be saying this or that. And as Driven says here, Warlight Raf, just for your information, Susan Veach immediately contacted the DNWR when really Robin posted the video November 5th, 2024. Now, just for context, this is the video. May have got it wrong slightly because Robin actually uploaded it the 13th of November, a few days apart, but what's most important is on the basis that around the time of when Robin did his video and Susan acted immediately, it makes more sense. Was I aware of Susan Veach in 2024? I don't think so. I know the last thing that I did, I had a run-in encounter with Susan Veach and it wasn't exactly positive, but that might have been between 2022 and 2023. In 2024, all I was doing was the Noah Presgrove case, true crime related. So in 2024, Susan Veach was quiet on YouTube to my knowledge, but she was still lurking in the background, hence why she knew about this video by really Robin in some way or another, and it encouraged Susan to reach out to the DNWR. So her reaction timing to the video makes sense based on what Driven states here. Back in 2024, that's when the action was taken and a report was made. However, the DNWR didn't take action until up to a year later. So it implies that it wasn't top of their priority list. With now knowing that, does that mean that it's not strange because the DNWR aren't involved in the true cover-up? Because if they really were, they would have taken action as soon as possible if there was truly something to hide. I mean, as you can put them aside, maybe they had other projects, maybe there was planning, or they needed permission, or they needed heads up from somebody else to be able to go out there and do it. If they were busy with other stuff in between, which was more important, you can see a priority list. However, to Susan Veach, who is the sister-in-law to Kenny Veach, as long as there's a form of urgency there in getting something done quick, that rings closer to home and more personal, closer to the case. That when you've got a family member, a relative that wants to take action and wants change as soon as possible, whether that be removing something, covering something up, with urgency being shown, some could interpret as desperation, that there's a strong motive to take action as soon as possible. Whereas in the DNWR, it might not be of their interest or high priority, that, it's just another mineshaft at the end of the day for them. But for Susan Veach, it's a mineshaft where Kenny Veach was supposedly last at, hence why his scent ended at the max. That main mineshaft before Wild Horse Pass, where the coins and the phone was found. So if Kenny Veach, as some suggested, went into the mineshaft down to the bottom, found an extended tunnel, decided to go on through, and then it may have collapsed on itself or filled in, and then Kenny was truly trapped, that the main mineshaft didn't show anything, but it's what's beyond underground. But making that more impossible now with it being truly filled in. If by any chance Susan was aware of any of those possibilities for some reason unknown to us, it would be of their benefit, it would be of their interest to get it filled in so that no one else can pester or bother with the area anymore. It does raise the questions though of what else will next be covered up, whether that be a shallow cave, a hole in the rock canyon, if it be a stack of rocks. It could really be anything mysterious-wise, which we've come across or seen from hikers' points of view when going out there recording. You think a Pitcher Canyon, a key hotspot area besides the mineshaft location. Even the other mineshaft which SB came across in more recent times, some months ago, who knows if Kenny Veach went to that one, because Red Rock Search and Rescue officially didn't make it clear as to which mineshaft the scent ended at. So if it's the other mineshaft as well, possibly, has that or will that be filled in? Even though it's not as deep, you could still fall in and injure yourself. It just feels like the truth, to some extent, is being covered up, and some mysteries that are in the mineshaft or were once in the mineshaft can't be retracked. The origin's not possible because the access just isn't available. I think that the fill-in as well adds a false sense of security long term, because if the structure inside becomes weakened through weathering and aging, if anyone tried stepping on it, they could fall through. It might take quite a long time, but it just adds a false sense of security. You think it's filled in completely, but it's only capped. And if that's weakened with time, you jump on it, you could go right through, you could die. Whereas if you've got an open mineshaft, as dangerous as that is, common sense, providing it's daylight, if you see it, you're likely going to just not stand on it because it's a hole and you're going to go right through. I mean, I can do that for a separate video too, just to show you examples of what's more safe than the other based on my opinion. But I just wanted to give you an update. It's interesting. I mean, you could argue and say when it comes to the DNWR, they're not always cooperative. In the early days with Sean Hallacker, Kenny Veach investigator and hiker, reached out to the DNWR in regard to Kenny Veach, more so in regard to the supposed covered up M cave out there, talking about the general area and whether they played dumb or they were just completely unaware of the situation. The DNWR didn't have much to say in regard to Kenny Veach, and more so the supposed covered M cave, wasn't aware of filled in or covered caves out there. Is that because they turn a blind eye? Did they directly assist in any possible cover-ups out there besides the mineshaft situation? Because the DNWR could be working alongside other groups or agencies out there. And is there anything of the interest of military or above? And whilst it is somewhat public land and you can go over it, the military wanted a land proposal takeover 1 year after Kenny Veach's disappearance. They didn't get what they wanted, but could they leverage or want things to be changed or adjusted with time, sneaking on in at times, closing the main road up to the area, little Jermay Road, for intervention of some sort to move things on, to cover stuff up in between besides the mineshaft. You never know. But the reason why the DNWR may have taken action with Susan rather than Sean Horlack or other people out there is because of the name and the weight it holds. The DNWR were a little bit aware of the Kenny Veach case at one point, and you have a Kenny Veach related family member who steps on in and says this location should be filled in because it's dangerous and it could attract innocent people who could get hurt. And it's just going to add more problems to the area. The DNWR will be like, you know what, safety comes first. We get you. We know who you are. We trust you. You're a Veach-related family member, so we're more likely to listen to you rather than a stranger. Because I feel that if a stranger was to reach out to the DNWR about filling in the mineshaft, they'd probably say, yeah, we might look into it. We may just stand by. But when you've got a Veach-related family member, all because it links back to Kenny Veach being out there and Kenny Veach being at that mineshaft and where it ended up, the DNWR, whether they feel a form of responsibility or just a form of commitment that they need to follow through with it to prevent any more complications down the line. And whilst the DNWR may just be doing it because that's what they do, for Susan Veach, were they on a mission to ensure that it would be filled in? Because look at it this way. Before this whole post by the fake Robin claiming to have put a pen drive in there without no hard evidence or proof, it could be all for nothing. If the pen drive wasn't in there, the person lied, but Susan fell for it, then Susan took action, and then it's been filled in, and it's ruined it for everybody else out there and other explorers and people that like mineshafts, whether it truly holds a mystery or not. It's been ruined all because of that. But linking it back to Susan Veach, the timing, the presence, it's just interesting. Whilst they didn't want other hikers going out there previously looking for Kenny because they felt it was a waste of time because they believe that Kenny is alive and elsewhere in state of disappearance, people can make their own choices, adult decisions if they want to go out there or not. If something goes wrong, it's kind of on them, their responsibility. Susan can't control other people or can't control other factors, but it seems like in this case, Susan has taken power into her own hands to control the area and the landscape, which is a little bit disappointing, you know? Just know one thing, that beside Robin claiming to have put a pen drive in a mineshaft to justify the whole motive behind Susan wanting it shut off, what about Kenny Veach in the first place and his scent ending at the mineshaft, sparking the waves of theories and ideas that maybe he's in there? Because the search and rescue didn't search the mineshaft properly, they sent a camera down, not a person, from the original report and news coverage. That's what sparked the curiosity and the focus in going there. That's what was one of the main reasons which caused Jeff Clark to go out there in 2017 to actually go into the mineshaft and check. And then onwards, that's what encouraged Scott Natal, SB, Outpost Mojave, Off the Trail, and anyone else in between. It encouraged people to go out there because they believed or felt that is there a chance that Kenny Veach is in the mineshaft. Ever since 2024, to my knowledge and Jeff Clark's, no other hiker has gone into the mineshaft. So based on Susan's motive of, I'm reporting it in because Robin has put a pen drive in the mineshaft and I'm worried it's going to attract people to go out there into the mineshaft and get hurt or injured. I don't want that. The reality is, ever since then, no hiker has gone into that mineshaft. No hiker has been encouraged by Robin's claims online. So it was all for nothing when it comes to Susan Veach. More hikers have gone into the mineshaft because originally Red Rock failed to do their job, right? The main draw point as to why people had gone into the mineshaft beforehand, prior to the fill-in, was all because of Kenny Veach and where the scent and the items were found out. Not to do with Robin, but more so to do with Kenny originally. And ever since, no one's really gone inside. So the motive was a waste of time, personally, in my opinion. It wasn't the draw point or the main pull point. So it just seems like way back then, when it was visible and it was known and it was documented that other hikers were going into that mineshaft and searching around inside, and Susan Veach would have seen it with her own eyes, which would have encouraged her to talk openly, encouraging hikers to not go out there anymore, which some people interpreted as, well, if you're going to tell people what to do and what they can't do, that seems like controlling behaviour, and it also seems like you're trying to prevent people from going out there because secretly you know the truth and you don't want anyone finding it. So when people do push on, oh, is that why you want it to be filled in well and truly? Weird situation. But what I'm ultimately trying to get at is, when there was a time from 2017 up to 2023, for example, a handful of people had gone into the mineshaft already in that space of time when Susan Veach was around and aware and alert of it. Yet she didn't, from the looks of it, reach out to the DNWR at that point. But from what Driven X Adventure says, the moment when Robin claimed no evidence, no proof, no footage of a pen drive put into the mineshaft, all of a sudden, that's when Susan thinks it's now the time to report it in to prevent anyone from going there and getting hurt. What about the years before? All the other people that had gone there who could have got hurt, it could have gone wrong, and Susan allowed it to happen from the looks of it. Even if she didn't agree with it and she didn't want people going inside, from the looks of it at least, it appears that she didn't really take any direct action. So why take direct action when it's too late? When someone like Robin is claiming to have put something into the mineshaft, let's just say it's fake, what Robin was claiming, but the mention of a pen drive and data on it, which highlights proof that Kenny Veach is alive, if by any chance that was put into the mineshaft, why on earth would Susan Veach want the truth, which she believes in as well, to be buried in the mineshaft once and for all? Because Susan believes that Kenny is alive and staged his disappearance. What Robin was suggesting with the pen drive is the contents was supporting Susan's claims and beyond. So if two people think in line with one another, why would one, the original, want proof and evidence which backs her up, so it makes her look less crazy, to be buried the truth into the mineshaft? That's the odd part. The DNWR taking their time to take direct action may not be as strange, but the urgent behaviour by Susan supposedly does stand out more. And I know you still got Sharon Pilgrim, who's very dodgy from their comments, and we won't forget that. But I don't know, it just seems a bit of a U-turn when it comes to Susan. Not everybody believes that Kenny did stage his disappearance or is living a new life. Some people think that Susan could be a bit biased or a bit one-sided or tunnel vision. But at the end of the day, when you have someone firm with their beliefs and what they think happened, such as with Kenny Veach, and then what they decide to do afterwards is to go against their beliefs by trying to cover up potential truth, there's a bit of a contradiction going on. You can claim you're doing it for the safety of other people so they don't go out there, but the reality is no one had gone out there since for the reason of Robin, so it's invalid. And that anyone that has been, which was true, was beforehand, and Susan didn't take action then, but only later, so why do it when it's too late? Weird behaviour going on, and the timing too. I mean, you've also got Sharon Pilgrim about the unreleased footage of Kenny when he made it back to the vehicle. Kenny didn't include it in his original hike, but Sharon uploaded it years later. And I can't remember the year now. Was it 2018? 2019? And onwards. Sharon Pilgrim said, I will upload it in November of the year she was commenting. 3 years later or so, she then uploaded it. The same exact month as she promised, but years later, and around the time of the HLN documentary. Feels like it was planned all along. Why? Publicity stunt, linking it with the HLN documentary to drum up views and hype things up. Why not just release it as soon as possible? Weird. And to be honest, Kenny's footage in that unreleased footage, he's got the mirrors on the vehicle angled so you can't see the reflection. It feels like things are being hidden and adjusted. When he walks up to the camera and moves it about, he kind of puts his hand over the lens so you can't really see what's around or what's behind or by the side. It just felt like Kenny Veach was trying to record himself but also try and cover things up. And in terms of planning it out and setting it up, as you know, what YouTubers can do at times, it wasn't the concept of Kenny putting everything down, instantly hitting record and then walking up to the vehicle for the first time, because Kenny's hiking poles were already by the side of the vehicle. Once he came onto camera walking on, the hiking poles were already by the side of his vehicle. So what he had done is he got back to the vehicle, set things up, put some items here and there, and then walked back off camera to hit record. I mean, yeah, it can happen. It's like a cinematic experience you get with SB Vega's adventures, that will set his camera up, press record, wait off camera, then come walking on camera, talks, and then walks off into the distance. And then obviously he'll have to suddenly walk all the way back to the camera, stop record, cut that footage out so it's more seamless and it transitions over from frame to frame. Not to ruin anything behind the scenes, but that's how it kind of works. There's a bit of production behind it to make it cinematic, to make it more interesting and intriguing and engaging with the audience. Now, was Kenny Veach trying to do that too? Was he trying too hard? Makes you wonder. So, with that being in mind and what Driven X Adventures has claimed, it'll be interesting to see what comes about next. Seems to be getting a bit closer to understanding when action was taken and when it wasn't, and just the difference between October 2025 and November 2025, drastic change, as you saw yourself. So we'll see what happens next, but thanks for watching. Make sure to hit the like button, share the video so more people get to see of these updates. My name's Warlike Raf. I'll see you next time. Goodbye, good night for now.